Hey guys, welcome
Uh-oh.
back. What?
Welcome back.
Oh, welcome back to Seldon Standard,
Uh,
the
Seldon Standard.
the Seldon Standard.
That's right.
I'm your host Genelle, and here
And
we have,
Dad.
as you can see, Dad is really excited to catch you guys up.
Oh,
We're gonna
catch
have
up.
we're gonna have a catch up episode, and we're also gonna have a little bit of a chatty episode just about random topics. We've been talking about a lot of topics this trip. I'm home in Michigan. My little cousin Sabrina just graduated from Michigan State. Congratulations to her.
Good job, Sabrina.
Good job, Sabrina. She'll be watching this. Yeah, we just kind of want to get into some updates. My birthday just happened.
Oh,
My birthday always falls around the time that the famous Coachella and Stagecoach happen. It's in the month of April. And basically, these are festivals that happen in California. They're music festivals, I
you don't
should
think
say.
people know this?
Just in case they don't,
Okay.
just a quick preface. Music festivals that happen, they're between 300,000 people and 100,000 people that go to these events.
Mm.
Stagecoach is country, Coachella is country, pop, alternative, rap, all the things, house music. It's so fun. So my dad came out for Stagecoach. I sang the national anthem at a rodeo, and since Stagecoach is country music, it's a lot of Western, a lot of cowboys.
Oh, yeah.
So, Dad, you experienced a part of Stagecoach and just like the culture around it. And I just kind of want to see what you thought. Did you have fun?
Yeah, well, that whole area in, the fact that you sang and we were at the rodeo was pretty cool to
Yeah.
start things off. And if you've not been to a rodeo, I recommend it.
Oh,
Yeah, I think it's worth checking out, in terms
okay.
of the way it's set up. What did it go from 1 o'clock to 3:30, I think.
Yeah.
And I mean, they have stuff going on prior to the actual rodeo starting, but once it starts, it's 2.5 hours of action. So
Right.
that's kind of cool. So if you're a person that likes that, between roping and bucking broncos, bull riding, it was pretty cool. And the people that put that together did a really nice job. Really
Yeah.
grateful for having us there. And then as far as Stagecoach, in my numerous years around the sun, I've been to a lot of concerts, and they didn't, I never really did the festival thing. I usually just go to see an artist at a different event, and that was it. And I thought it was pretty cool. I thought it was, you know, um, seemed organized for what we were doing, and just it's definitely you gotta have comfortable shoes because 'cause you're walking around a lot, as we learned. But yeah, it was cool, and, I thought it was cool because it was nice outside, which
Mhm.
was nice. A little cooler, I think, this time than Coachella.
It was.
And, so that was fun because you could be outside, and hearing live music is always cool to see. So yeah, I thought it was good.
Yeah. I think next year, my dad, I'm definitely going to take him to 2 days of stage. I think he could deal with it.
Yeah, I think you gotta pick your spot. I'm not one that could probably hang out there for, like, 8 hours a day.
No, I
Not
don't think
me, but
I can't really.
yeah, I mean, it depends what your thing is, but if you looked at the lineup of artists
Mm-hmm.
and then you kinda picked your spots, because I know it's not cheap to go there. That's the other thing, it's pretty expensive, and then you gotta stay somewhere because 'cause you're down, and people stay in anywhere from hotels to, Airbnbs to, they're campers
Mm-hmm.
down there. So you know, it's a hangout, that's for sure.
Totally. Yeah, it was so fun kind of just seeing my dad walk around because they use the same field and a lot of the same art pieces at Coachella at Stagecoach.
Mm,
So I think watching my dad, there's this one rainbow circle walk thing. Like you
yeah.
can walk through these different levels and seeing my dad, you know how there's a statement like two things can be true at once. And sometimes you're like, can it? It's funny watching my dad walk past it because all the memories I have of Coachella, I would have never put my dad in that
Looking at that?
scenery.
Mm,
Yeah, it was a mismatch to my brain because I would have never thought that my dad would be like trumping through
yeah.
the Coachella
Well, then they had
lands.
the Ferris wheel.
Yep, and
That's a
that's there everywhere.
that's a big centerpiece of it, so they have that,
Yep,
and then, food and the typical stuff.
totally.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, lots of not a lot of security, but because they sell different types of, they're wristbands, and they're all chipped, so depending on what you have, you can only get into certain areas, so
Yeah.
they've got these scanners and, that's okay. It just, as long as you got the right
Mm.
wristband, you're not trying to go through somewhere you can't, because then they get a little uptight about that. But otherwise,
Yeah,
it's all pretty
no,
smooth.
I know, yeah, he got to see the different, like, levels, like, there's general admission, there's VIP, but Stagecoach had a bunch of different ones. They had, like, a rhinestone area, and then they had this choral seating. It was very interesting. It was something I never experienced. Coachella is literally general admission, VIP, beer tent, artist area.
Mm,
So, lot to figure out, but we had so much fun. We're back. I came home this
yes.
weekend. My birthday was this past week, and my we had some dinner in town in LA, and then my dad took off, and then I came here and I was so exhausted. But we've had a good couple of conversations, and one of
Fast and Furious.
too fast and furious for me. Honestly,
Hmm.
people probably from seeing me on the internet would say that I like to travel. I personally don't love traveling. I like to stay at home.
Yeah, that's pros and cons.
Pros and
Yeah.
cons. But we did get into some good discussions, and I thought this would be interesting for me to fully hear, but also for people to hear. I randomly on, I think it was Saturday, my dad and I go to our favorite bakery called Good Grounds Coffee.
Oh yeah.
Such a good coffee shop. It's in Almont, Michigan. They make sourdough
Shout out.
pastries. Shout out. We've talked about them before. I had a cold brew with strawberry cold foam. They had a special. So it was like cold. It's
Mm,
basically heavy whipping cream foamed with strawberries
well,
puree.
yeah. Yep.
And they put it on top of the cold brew. Anyways, this cold brew got me going. And it got me going so much to a point where business ideas, money ideas, anything like success-wise was flowing through my brain. My little cousin wants to now that she's graduated, she wants to be in PR, she wants to be in marketing. I was thinking about ideas for her, thinking about ideas for me. And as my idea, I started telling my dad this in the car on our way to our hike, or it was after, whatever. And he goes, "Oh, yeah, if I was a certain age, like the businesses if I was your age, I would be starting businesses." And
Mhm,
so I kind of want to get into that thought just because my dad studies, if you guys don't know my dad personally, which a lot of you don't that listen, but
mhm,
some of you do,
mhm.
he studies the stock market. He's been in the stock market. And by being a part of the stock market, you have to be researching companies and businesses, what's taking off, what's not working with businesses. Why do companies fail? Why do they succeed? Because you're investing in the stock market, aka into the businesses. So you have a lot of insight, I would say. And listen, I know you're not on Wall Street, but
Mhm,
if you were to start a business, like how you said in the
mhm,
car, let's say you were 31, 30.
mhm.
What businesses would you start and why? And this doesn't have to apply to just anybody. It just what would you do and why would you start it?
Yeah, so by no means am I an expert. I wouldn't consider myself an expert in businesses or in stock markets or any of that. I think it's a personal thing to do it yourself versus you hire a financial planner to help you with that. If I would just separate the two, and this is what I tell my kids any as well, is that you can go out in this world and work for somebody, a company, an organization, and have the security of a job that the best it can be, and all that comes with that, health insurance and regular paycheck and so forth. Or you can go out and try to create your own, business or company or whatever. So I think, and there's some sure people listening to this that have done both or have chosen one path over the other, as you have, right? So I think it all comes down to the kind of person you are, because owning your own business, I mean, it sounds great.
It does.
It sounds
On paper.
really good,
On
like, I'm my
paper.
own boss and I
Yeah.
can do all this stuff, but it also comes with a tremendous amount of additional work. Besides doing it, whatever it is you do to make the money, then it's all the stuff in the back. I remember I was involved with a business, and I remember we had to pay workman's comp, like it's an insurance here in our state. And you have to file for every employee you have, all this stuff. And you literally need someone to do that. I mean, so you had to hire or either a third party company to do it and so forth. So I think the reason I bring just that simple example up, the idea of being in business has always appealed to me. However, I would say the majority of my work life, I had worked for someone, a company or something like that. Today, I think there's a lot of industries that are open to um, opportunities in how I feel about it. Depending on what you know, what excites you. I like outdoorsy type things and doing stuff. I think if I were to start a company today, believe it or not, I was just said this to someone a little while ago. I'd be moving dirt. And what I mean by that is between construction, between residential, commercial, whether it's excavating.
Does that make money?
Oh, wait till you have to hire one day, then you'll see. So what's happened in our world as it relates to that? So, anytime we're growing as a country or a world, what's happening? People are building, things are, you know, large, like with what's going on now, companies moving to the United States and manufacturing. What do they got to do? They got to build facilities,
Yeah, they're
you know?
saying that's gonna take, like, 5 years.
Yeah, and so what happens where those facilities are built? People move. When people move there, what do? They buy houses. When they buy houses, all those things that takes to build a house. So if that would be one thing I would do. If I was because I like the physical stuff and doing that, I think building and moving dirt and even maybe landscaping, although that's another thing. So I'd be interested in that. The machinery that they have today that makes this easier to do, things of that nature, so without going down that whole rabbit hole. So that would
So you would own a dirt moving company?
yeah, well, I mean, excavating would be the word I would use, and there's a lot of very skilled people out there that are already doing this, but from what I understand, there's not enough people.
Oh,
And
okay.
so therefore, the people who have the ambition to do it, in some instances, you're gonna need some capital because you gotta buy some equipment.
Right.
So, it's just like lawn cutting. Think of how many people have their lawns. When I was growing up, everyone cut their own lawn. No one hired a company to cut their lawn. Now, if any area you live, you see these guys in trucks and trailers pulling up with lawn equipment and so forth. You can make a lot of money just cutting lawn.
So out of all the things to do, you think moving dirt is probably the
Oh, I,
best?
I don't know if it's the best, but I think it depends on what your interests are.
Well, with your interests, and let's say you're 30, and
Yeah,
let's
that's
say
what I would choose to do.
okay.
Just because now that I know myself even better, that now the other side of this is that I think so I'd say that is a blue collar job. Although, someone who runs a business like that still has to be smart enough to be able to quote and deliver invoices and take care of all the paperwork side of it too. But I think what you do and the element of how our society is going to function in the future is it like every time I listen to the Meta report when they give their earnings, the marketing wing of Meta is the driving force, right? All the marketing that goes on, the advertising and so forth, right?
Mhm.
So if I was smart enough and knew that well enough, I think that's the way people are going to continue to be like, you think about everybody buys stuff from Amazon now. Shopping malls were huge at one time,
Totally. Because that's
right?
the only way you could really get
Yeah. So how do
clothes.
people find out about things nowadays? They go on the internet and they read about it and they listen to other people that have bought products or used them or
Didn't
whatever.
you bring up a list of top 10 most desired
Yeah.
jobs?
So what it
What
was,
was it?
there was a survey of kids. This is pretty funny,
This
actually.
is funny. I thought this was, like,
And
so interesting.
it says the top 10 job aspirations of
Okay.
Gen Alpha. So I believe that's the current generation. They
Are those do they
they call it Gen Alpha. They didn't give me, so I guess Google Gen Alpha while you're doing that. It says Gen Alpha watched influencers make millions from daily vlogs and video game content. Now they want a piece of the pie. The number one out of those 10 was YouTuber. Second was TikTok creator, doctor or nurse, mobile app video game developer, entrepreneur, artist, sports athlete, professional online streamer, musician, and teacher.
I
So
love those.
when I was a kid, it was a fireman,
Yeah.
police officer or doctor, lawyer, and so forth. So, even the kids today,
Which, by the way, Gen Alpha is 2010 to 2024 born.
okay, so that's even young. That's yeah. Those kids haven't even gone to college yet. So they're already. So think about what that means. They're 7 years away from graduating college,
Mhm.
roughly. The on the right, because you said 2000 what to what?
10 to 24
Okay, so some of them.
or
Well,
15.
were they born in 2010?
Yep, it
Oh,
says
okay,
Gen
okay.
Alpha is generally defined as those individuals born between 2010 and 2024.
Okay, so think about it, and some of those kids will be graduating high school in 4 more years, so that's call it 2030, so in 2030s, all these kids are coming out of college, with their goals of doing that. Think
Oh.
about that for a
Well, I don't
second, it's
even know
kinda
if
crazy.
TikTok will be
Wha
relevant
well,
then.
that's great
So
point.
that's so funny
Well,
they're
or will
like
it be some other platform? Will it be
you're right.
some other so the point is the industry of influencing and doing what it's doing is at the top of mind of these young kids.
Yeah,
Think about that. That's kinda crazy. So what does that mean? So if I was thinking about a business, how would I capture what those kids are gonna do? What like we've talked about, there's a lot of different things you could do with that. So,
totally. You could even start making instructive YouTube videos now on how to become, right?
oh, I'm sure people are thinking about that already. As you know, there's management companies that there wasn't that many of those when you
Yeah,
started of managing influencers.
totally.
Now they're all over the place. And what that's caused is instead of the product or service that wanted you to represent them, they have to now go through a management company, pay more. That's how they're going to make their money. So it's a very interesting dynamic that's occurred just in the last 5 to 8 years,
Mhm.
in terms of how that industry is developing. So when you look ahead, if you're out there thinking about this question, like what business could I go into? Services are always going to be popular because you have more people, both people are working, right? Like look at nannies, how they get paid. All the services, your house cleaning, lawn, landscaping, window cleaning. I mean, on and on and on it goes, right? Anything that is to do with our day in, day out life. There's companies that there's a company that does gutter cleaning. Who would have thought,
Right.
right? So it really has to do with what your interests are. Do you want to just be a one, person operation? Because, once you scale and get bigger, that brings on all kinds of other stuff. So there's a lot of things to think about. Or listen, if you're comfortable just clocking in at a company when I was a kid, most people work for a company for 30 years and then they retired.
Yeah.
That was more common than today. People jump around. And if you're smart enough and you understand all the AI stuff and all that, gosh, who knows where that's going? That's just a whole nother level. I don't have that's not my strength, but if you know about all that, it's who knows?
Yeah.
So,
Okay, yeah. That was some of our discussion that we had had.
well, yeah, we always get into, we're trying to keep our minds active and think about things. And, a lot of people do. And then there's people who do things and they don't even really think a lot about it and they're successful. I've been
Totally.
fortunate enough to know some people who started businesses and became very successful. It still comes down to how hard you want to work, how ambitious are you, how, you know, really, are you gonna get up every day being excited about doing what we talk a lot about that? There's a lot of people that go to work that aren't happy.
Well, and here's the other thing too. I think a lot of people, if you work really hard, just know that you'll sacrifice other things because time you only have so much
Mhm.
of. And I actually just met a friend for lunch and she's killing it in so much business aspect, but a relationship is falling apart that's very close to her. Not she's married, so not her husband or anything like that. But the issue is because she's like, I can't fill this person in on everything I'm doing, everything that goes wrong with this business and that business and this business and that business, because I don't have time to just fill anyone in, even if they're my mother, even if they're my father. I don't have time to sit down and fill them in because they come to her and they're like, "Why aren't you telling me? I want to be a part of this." And she's killing it in like 4 different businesses. She has a son who's young, and she has a marriage, and he's very successful, and they work together to build up these businesses, but other things tend to fall short. So just
Yes.
also know too, when you are working very hard and you are pouring all of your energy
Oh, your
sometimes.
health is a big
Yeah.
one too.
Well, if you can maintain, eating your salads and, hitting the gym in the
But when you're
morning,
in a rush all the time, you're eating more prepared food, and we're kinda
or
jumping around.
sometimes instead of calling your mom, maybe you're like, "I'm gonna hit the gym." So then you
Right.
start backseating other
Yes.
things, right? And I think, or you stop calling your brother or whoever you're close with, right? Things take a hit. So just also know too, with success, sometimes people get so jealous or so envious off of
Mhm.
success, or first of all, they're working very hard most of the time. Things don't just fall from the sky, and if it does, you can't compare yourself to those things because those are one in trillions of stories. A lot of people are out here working hard with businesses, and two, they're sacrificing other things in their life, and maybe to them at the time, it may not be that big of a deal, but maybe to you it is. So you never know the full story, but I love the idea about talking business plans. I am motivated to get back to LA this week and work my butt off.
Well, I think what you just mentioned, and maybe what I would how I would frame up what we just talked about, is about balance in life. And, the older you get, if your life has been out of balance, say, for 20 years, because you just been your head down, busting tail, trying to, whether it's make ends meet or be successful in any shape or form. But as a result of that, the cost of that is your life is out of balance in relationships, marriages, children, lots of things. It's you find out it wasn't worth it. We're all trying to balance things. Everyone in this world is trying to figure out how to pay their bills and have some fun and do some things, because we started off talking about Coachella and Stagecoach, and it takes money to go do that. You gotta take time off work to go do that. So we wanna do those things, but then we wanna be at the kids' soccer game, and we wanna be at their school conferences, and we
Mhm.
wanna make sure that we're dating our significant other and all these different things. So,
Yeah,
yeah, if you're in your 20s and even your 30s, or it doesn't matter, even my age, and you're thinking about doing a business, and you need someone that can help hold you accountable to balancing things, because many times, certainly, I have found them even in my life, because I just was so dedicated, ambitious, that everything else went to the wayside because I get so focused. And that's not good. That's not healthy in the long run.
totally. Another thing I wanted to ask you,
Mhm.
are we kinda talked about being goal oriented. I'm pretty goal oriented. Would you say that you're still goal oriented after being retired, and why?
Yeah, I would say, I believe having goals helps keep you on track, and,
For what?
well, whatever the goal, just in getting things done, being efficient.
Okay.
So I like being efficient. So
But why do you feel you have to if you're retired?
because, there are things that need to be done, that have to be done, and then there's things I wanna get done,
Okay.
right? So I kinda, how I separate those is the things that have to be done, I like getting them out of the way so I can do the things that I wanna do. Like, some of those I don't mind doing, but if there's something, like, let's say I need to fix something in my house, now I got 2 options. I can pick up the phone and call somebody, say, "Hey, I need you to fix this. Can you come out?" Actually, I have a guy coming out tomorrow for
Mhm.
painting. And so, I've been waiting 2 weeks for this guy. So now he's gonna come out. Obviously, he's gonna give me a price and so forth. If I had to do this painting, okay, and this would be in that maybe has to be done type of thing. At some point it does. It would take me, a long time to do it. So I'd rather maybe offload that onto somebody and go do the other things that I need to get done so that I can so having goals, and I usually think about those by the season. So if there's 4 seasons here in Michigan anyway, and there's 4 seasons everywhere, but it's very specific here. I think about those goals, and usually spring, summer, and fall are, like, where I crush it goal-wise. And
Oh,
physical goals, I have a lotta fitness goals this time of the year, usually all year round, but now it picks up.
right.
So I wanna make sure I keep that focus on that. Some travel goals.
What do you think gives you that ambition to? Because some people out there might not feel like they have that ambition to be goal oriented. What, like, kinda makes you feel
Well, I
like you wanna be?
yeah, I think it comes back to just being the person that likes to get things done, you know? I mean, even if it's daily task. I read a book a long time ago, and in this book, the person, it was a goal-oriented book and just, mental motivation, all these things, but it said, "Get up every day and make your bed. Make that a habit. Make your bed every day." Now, some people don't make their bed. Why make it? I'm gonna get in there, you know, in 12 hours or whatever, 24 hours. So, but there's something about what it's doing is it's setting the tone for the day. So it's like some people like to get up and go work out right away, right? Go to the gym. Because if they wait and think about doing it at middle of the day or in the evening, they get too tired, they got to get home,
Mhm.
so they don't do it. So they set that at 5 in the morning, man. I knew a bunch of, let's go work out. I'm just like, wow, if I had to do it, I would. So I think it all comes back to what your ambition is and where you want to be in life. If you want to say you want to run a marathon, we've used the same example before. You're not going to start training the week before the marathon.
No.
Unless you're a genetic freak, you're gonna not make it.
No.
So a book I read years ago was 4 months to a 4-hour marathon. So it backed me up 4 months, and on day 1, week 1, go out and walk 1
Did you
mile.
train to run a marathon?
I did, but I never got to it. It's another story.
Okay.
But day 1, week 1, walk 2 miles. You know, day 2, week 1, walk 1 mile, run 1. I mean, so
Oh,
literally that.
wow.
Right? So by week 10, run 5, run 8, you know, and that's how you're getting, because that's how you have to train. So I think goals help you incrementally achieve, hopefully, in the long run. It's like I tell you guys to save, invest now at this age, and it's hard to sometimes understand this, but 30 years from now, the compounding of time and money is where you really are able to accumulate wealth, because it's that consistency, it's the time, it's the growth of the economy, which has been consistent for 100 years. So that's another example of have that goal, be disciplined to it, and so forth. So, and honestly, too, when you accomplish a goal, it feels good. You check the box, you know?
I know, do you think for
So
anyone
there's
out
this
there it
nice.
doesn't feel good to them maybe?
It's possible.
I think most people think hitting goals are
Well, I think
good.
there's a lot of people that say they wanna do certain things, but then they don't do the work, you know? So I think you gotta be real careful, or they set the goal too high.
Okay.
They maybe say, "Well, I'm gonna make $5 million this year." Now, you have to be realistic when you set goals. And we talked about this in a previous podcast about different acronyms I've used over the years. SMART goals was one of my more
Mhm.
popular ones. If you're in a lull or you're feeling a little bit, man, I'm in a slump right now. I feel like, 'cause if we tie that back into creating a business or doing something like that, everybody sees these things on Instagram. I make 5,000 extra a month by doing this. So people read that stuff and they see, Susie is making 5,000 extra dollars. So she's selling on TikTok, or, you know, she's got an Amazon account, or whatever it is. Some of that stuff is real and some of it's a scam. If you're feeling like you're spinning your wheels, or you're in a slump, boom, setting some real goals can help you get out of it, even as a retired person. It helps me, okay, keeps me so I don't become lazy or sit around or whatever.
Okay, yeah, no, I think goals
Yeah.
keep me moving
Yeah. Mhm.
because if you don't have them, I don't know where you're going.
There's some people are just happy to be able to get up every day,
True.
go to work, do their job, they do it well.
But
They
even then, like, might have goals in the gym or something. Maybe they
maybe
have.
maybe they don't, maybe that's not maybe they're well, I've had people there's people I know say, My goal is to read 12 books this year."
True.
Okay, well, that's cool. That's what you're into. I don't have that goal, but if that's what you wanna do, you wanna read 12 books, I mean, that's cool, right? I
Yeah.
don't have a problem with that.
No,
Like
I
that year I did that 14er,
what, 14er?
a 14,000-foot climb in Colorado.
Oh,
I
okay.
was telling Nolan and Barry that I had to go over there do those stairs at one of the parks that we have here locally. There's like 150 stairs, and it's brutal. Now, for people who might be watching this, who live in mountainous areas, it's probably a piece of cake for them. But for us flatlanders, but if I hadn't done that, when it came time to actually go and climb up to this thing, which was already hard, I'd have been in trouble.
Do you think I could do it?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
You might wanna train a little
Okay.
bit just because it's like, I don't know, was it 4 hours straight up?
Oh, is it?
Yeah, and thinner air.
Yeah.
That's the
The
thing
air
that
is
and the
thinner,
only
yeah.
way you can do that is acclimate. You just gotta be comfortable, get there a couple days, 2, 3, some maybe more,
Oh,
and get
okay.
used to the
Did
thinner
you do
air.
that?
Yeah, yep.
Oh.
Yeah. It was in the 5th day of our trip.
Oh.
So I was used to the higher elevation. I had done some smaller climbs too for that before I did this climb. So yeah, it was crazy. It was cool though. I'm glad I did it.
Okay. We were also talking about I always hear my dad, it's so funny. My dad and Terry live together, but Terry,
Well, it's
his
my wife.
wife,
That's
yeah,
why
his wife.
we
Well, yeah, that's they're married. The point what I'm trying to make is Terry's has horses that are a few hour drive away, and my dad and Terry will get on the phone and they'll talk for like 15, 20 minutes. So the other day, my dad's downstairs talking to Terry and he's got his Bible in front of him. And you were saying something to Terry on the phone about blessings, and you'll get all these blessings if you do blah, 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 and if
Mhm.
you obey. But then if you don't, you'll be cursed.
Yep.
And I wanted to ask you about that because I only caught a blimp of it. And I just wondered, like, what that was about and what section that was in.
Yeah, so it was Deuteronomy 28,
Okay.
1 through I think 50 or whatever. It's a good read, and it's at that time that the Israelites, Moses had gotten them out of Egypt. They were slaves for I think it was 400 years, and they'd gone through quite a journey through the Red Sea and all these other things, but they were going to the Promised Land. And so the Promised Land was obviously away from slavery to start their own really life and country or whatever. And so Moses had led them, and it was after 40 years there was time to kind of set some parameters about life. So when people talk about the laws of the land and how we live by laws and who creates the laws and all that stuff, laws come from God. There has to be structure. The Deuteronomy was a great kind of explanation of how God was going to organize his people. So there's a lot of that in there. 12 tribes and all this stuff. But one of the things that he was real clear about and what he was trying to convey, Moses, was to the people was that if underlined, circled, if you follow God, and he lists out sentence after sentence, all these blessings that'll happen if you do that. That Moses is conveying to these people that if you do this, man, you're going to have the best cows, you're going to have the best sheep, you're going to have, all the stuff for that time, right? Your crops are going to be great. You're going to be healthy. You're going to be this and that and blah, blah.
Now it's all the Birkins and the Chanels. No, just kidding.
Yeah. On the other side of that, if you don't follow God and praise God and believe in God and all the things you need to do, you'll be cursed. And then there's a whole list. So if you're the type of person where you look at that and you say, well, who's not going to want all those benefits? Everyone would say, man, I want to be on the blessed side. I don't want to be on the cursed side. Right. So, but in order to benefit, God had these specific things you needed to do in terms of following God and so forth, not sinning and all these other things. We were having a conversation about how all through time, even today in the world we sit in, if you're watching this video, we have laws, we have rules, we have, I always use the speed limit one. You may be driving down the expressway and the speed limit's 70. You don't think it's fast enough, so you go faster. Well, what happens if you get caught? You get a ticket, and you say, "Well, that's ridiculous. I can go 80." So if we use that and we said, well, there might be a guy in a Corvette thinks he can go 90, and then there's a guy in a Ferrari thinks he can go 100, and pretty soon everyone's picking their own speed. What happens? It could be chaotic, right? Or you have grandma who only wants to do 45,
Right, right,
because that's all she's comfortable doing, right?
right.
So you have to have structure. We have to keep people within a reason, and there are a lot of laws that people don't agree with, and I'm one of them. But in the essence of life, in terms of the big ones, and thou shalt honor thy mother and father, thou shalt not, kill, that, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, and da 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 da, 10 Commandment stuff. They're there for our benefit to keep us from destroying ourselves or other things.
Or other
Yeah, so,
people.
that's why I use the speed limit one, because like years ago when you didn't have to wear a seatbelt. That was not a law. You could drive down the road without a seatbelt on. Now, did people who didn't have seatbelts on tend to get more injured than those that did? In fact, they didn't make seatbelts in cars probably until the early 60s, maybe mid 60s. So you could buy a car that didn't even have seatbelts, or it was an option. Imagine that, going to the store. Yeah, I'll take that car. Yeah, I'll pay the extra $20 to get seatbelts. That's seriously. Just like air conditioning wasn't standard in a car. Power windows weren't standard. When the law passed that you have to wear your seatbelt, I didn't like that, because I was like, if I choose not to wear my seatbelt, that should be my choice. I don't want you telling me I should wear my seatbelt. And people might say, well, just like, I don't think California, there's states where motorcyclists don't have to wear helmets. I would say that's a dangerous decision not to wear a helmet on a motorcycle. Those guys in Cali that are cutting through cars, I mean, maybe they'll end up with some broken bones, but their head might be intact, because I think there's a helmet law in Cali.
N no, I don't think so.
Well, most of those
Or is
guys,
it Florida?
yeah, well, I know Michigan's a no helmet law, believe it or not.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, the point being is that a cost to society because you don't have certain laws that are for everyone? And so, getting off a little track, back to the structure, God knew that humans that he created needed to have some organized structure, otherwise it'd be chaotic. And so that's what we were talking about was, early on.
But what about the being cursed?
Well, the cursed is meaning you won't benefit. Cursed was just a word they used.
Okay.
Not cursed like, you're thinking of the voodoo doll. That's
Oh,
curse
or
you.
cursed,
No,
yeah.
it's just that you're not gonna have those benefits. It's like, if you want them, you gotta do this, and if you don't do this, you're gonna be cursed, meaning you're not gonna get them. That's all it meant, more or less. You're not gonna be, like, cursed, like,
Right, like,
yeah, some evil
you're
thing.
never finding love.
Yeah, not that kind of stuff. But
Okay.
as a result of your decision, just like in life today, like I said, if you choose to go 150 down the road and a cop pulls you over, you're cursed in that you're getting a speeding ticket
Right,
or thrown in jail.
right. Or,
Yeah.
like, if you do stuff and you get hurt or, like,
Yeah.
or anything, it's like that's
Yes.
okay.
Yeah. So
But
it's
do you
just,
think you can still live in the 10 commandments and get cursed? Or get
well,
like,
the idea is, and this would be a topic for another
Yes.
podcast, is when we think about the truths of the Word of God or the Bible in general, most of the things that if you apply the things in the Bible to your life, you're going to be better off. And what we can do a podcast on that is specifically like, what are some of those things? And so that's what really God was saying to these people, is that, hey, listen, if you, and that's why the word if, I think it's in the Bible 1,536 times, the word if. If you do this, this is what'll happen. If you do that, da 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 da. So God is giving you the option, because you have a free will, that if you do it. Now he could have just said you're doing it, But the if part makes it very interesting because he's also giving you more or less the option, but if you choose not to do it, then the alternative is true. You're gonna have some kinda issue or problem or whatever.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Well, that was a good little catch up episode that we
Yeah.
wanted to do.
We just wanted to we're priming you for the next
Season.
podcast that will be
Summer
coming.
season. It'll be almost 2 years since we started this.
Yes, it is, and so we've had some fun, and we've been busy and
Yeah.
rushing around, and we appreciate you guys being patient with us.
After this next couple weeks, I won't be rushing around as much. So
Oh, whatever.
my brain will be free flowing. But anyways, you guys, thank you so much for watching this podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe,
Yes.
follow us, and yeah, we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Thanks.
Bye.
See ya.